In today's video, I'm revealing the best small forward builds in NBA 2K22 Next Gen. But first, if you're looking for somebody to grind your badges, hit up Elite Badge Grinding. They're super fast and 100% legit. Click their links in the description and let them know Hambo sent you. Also, if you could do me a quick favor, scroll down, smash that big red subscribe button, as well as like the video, that'd be greatly appreciated. We're trying to hit 10K before the end of the year. Okay, as you guys can see, we are in the My Player Builder, and for this build, we're gonna kind of be like a lockdown. So obviously, for the position, we're gonna go with small forward, and then beyond that, everything else doesn't matter. Moving on to the body settings. For the height, we're gonna go ahead and leave this alone at 6'7". Overall, for defensive attributes, if you go lower, you'll lose too much block. But then if you go higher, you just won't have very good perimeter defense and steals. And since this is going to be a perimeter lockdown, those two attributes are very important. Moving on to the weight, you're going to go ahead and drop this down to 181 pounds. This is just one off of minimum. And then for the wingspan, you of course need to max this out. This way you just have the best defense possible. Moving on to the attributes screen, we're going to start things off by actually skipping finishing. So for the shooting, you're going to start by maxing out your three-pointer and then basically maxing out your mid-range. You're actually going to drop this down one rating to 83. You'll still have 24 shooting badges, which is a ton. Even though you only have a 79 three-point rating, your three-point rating doesn't matter at all this year, and all that pretty much matters is your badges. So now we are going to go ahead and go to playmaking. You're going to want to basically max out both ball handle and speed with ball. You're actually going to want your ball handle at an 80 and your speed with ball at a 76. And then scoring up to your pass hack, you're going to want to bump this up to a 72. You will have 22 playmaking badges. Overall, you're not going to be ball handling a ton on this build, but it is very nice to be able to pass a little bit and dribble a little bit. And then scrolling it down to your defensive / rebounding attributes, you're going to start things off by upgrading your perimeter defense to max and your steal to max. Next, for block, you're going to want to bump this up to an 83. And then scrolling down to offensive rebound, you're going to want this at a 77 and your defensive rebound at an 86. In total, you will have 30 defensive badges, which is a ton. But more importantly, look at your defensive attributes. They're actually insane. Next, for your physicals, you're going to want to go ahead and max out both speed and acceleration. And then dropping down to vertical, you're going to want to bump this up to an 80. And finally, you're going to want stamina at max. As you guys may notice, we have not upgraded finishing at all. Obviously, we're not going to leave this like this. What you're going to want to go ahead and do is throw all of your attributes onto driving dunk. You'll have a 90. This is more than good enough, but what I actually recommend doing is dropping down your stamina to an 84. And then with those two ratings, you can get a 92 driving dunk. This means not only are you able to get 2 more finishing badges, but you're also able to get elite contact dunks. In my opinion, elite contact dunks are not as good as they were last year, but I still recommend going ahead and doing this, since especially for Park, as long as you have both Gatorade bars, you're gonna be 100% fine with an 84 stamina. In total, this build has a 90 badges, which isn't crazy or anything, but it is definitely very good. Overall, you have pretty decent finishing, very good shooting and playmaking, and additionally, your defense is stellar. If you do want to play Pro-Am or Rec Center, then you are going to need a little bit of free throw. So what I'd recommend doing is dropping down your mid-range to an 80 and then throwing the rest of those ratings onto free throw. In total, you will have a 78 free throw and still 23 shooting badges, which is very good. If you want an even higher free throw, I'd recommend just dropping down your physicals a little bit. But for me, I don't need higher than a 78. So moving on to the takeovers, since we are locked down, your first takeover 100% has to be extreme clamps. And then for the second takeover, you could go with like a finishing takeover if you want to, but for me personally, I'm gonna go with enhanced jump shot contests. And as you guys can see, I have built a two-way finisher. Honestly, at this point, the names are just awful. Like, I have 15 finishing badges, 24 shooting badges, and 22 playmaking badges. And of course, they decide to put finishing in the name instead of shooting or playmaking. But anyways, I don't really care. Moving on to build number 2. So hopping right into the second build of today's video. Of course, for this build, we are going to be a small forward again. This is going to be kind of like an all-around point forward type of a build. For the height, you're going to want to go ahead and bump this up to 6'8". This will just help you to have a slightly better interior presence. And then for the weight, you're going to want to go ahead and drop this down to 185. And then finally for the wingspan, you're going to want this at 6'11". This way you can have a slightly better three-pointer. Onto the attribute screen, you're going to want to go ahead and upgrade your driving dunk to an 85. Next, going over to driving layup, you're going to want this at a 77. Scrolling down to standing dunk, you're going to want to bump this up to an 81. And finally, for close shot, you're going to want this at a 60. You will have 22 finishing badges. Scrolling down to your shooting badges, you're going to want to start things off by maxing out your three-pointer and then bumping up your mid-range to an 87. In total, you will have 29 shooting badges, which is very, very good. And also your three-pointer and mid-range attributes are also very good. Scrolling down to playmaking, you're going to want to basically max out both ball handling and speed with ball. You're actually going to want to drop down your ball handle to an 85 and also drop down your speed with ball to a 73. And then finally, for pass accuracy, you're going to want to bump this up to an 89. You'll have 26 playmaking badges, which is absolutely a ton. Scrolling down here to defensive / rebounding, I'm going to upgrade this kind of weirdly. So first, you're going to want to upgrade your perimeter defense to an 86. Then scrolling down to steal, you're going to want this at a 73. For block, you're going to want to go ahead and max this out. And then finally, for the rebounding, you're going to want your offensive rebound at a 74 and your defensive rebound at a 78. In total, you will have 24 defensive / rebounding badges, which is absolutely perfect. Onto your physicals, you're going to want to go ahead and max out both speed and acceleration. For your vertical, you're going to want this at a 75. This way you can unlock more contact dunk packages. And then finally, for stamina, go ahead and max this thing out. You do have a few attributes that you just have to throw in free throws, so just go ahead and do that. In total, this build has 101 badges, and it's able to do everything at an elite level. If I am going to make a second build, it is most likely going to be this build or something very, very similar. If you do want a higher free throw on this build, I recommend dropping down your standing dunk to a 76. You will still have 21 finishing badges, and then if you scroll down to stamina, you're going to want to drop this to a 90. Throw all of those ratings onto free throw, and you're able to get a 93 free throw, which is more than enough. And then I guess I do have one rating I can throw in stamina, so I'll have a 91. So I guess you didn't really need to drop it to a 90. On to the takeovers. For the first takeover, I'm honestly going to go with extreme clamps. The reason why for the first takeover, I'm going with extreme clamps and not limitless range is because on most teams that I'm playing with on this build, I am the primary lockdown. And as you guys can see, I built a two-way sharp. Honestly, this is kind of an accurate-ish name, but moving on to build number 3. Okay, so for the third and final build of this video, of course, we need to be a small forward. For this build, this is going to be a very offensive focused build, maybe kind of like a short KD build. For the body settings, I'm going to go with 6'8". I wanted to go with 6'9" on this build, but I decided to go with 6'8" since you just get better badges. For the weight, I'd recommend dropping this all the way down to minimum. This way you are as quick as possible. And then finally, for the wingspan, you're going to want this at a 74, which is a good balance between defense and shooting. Moving on to the attributes screen, we're going to start things off by upgrading your driving dunk to a 92. Next, you're going to want to upgrade your driving layup to an 86. And then scrolling down to standing dunk, you're going to want to bump this up to an 81. And then finally, for your close shot, you're going to want to go ahead and bump this up to a 73. In total, you will have 27 finishing badges. Next, moving on to shooting, you're going to want to start things off by upgrading your mid-range and your three-pointer both to max. In total, you'll have 25 shooting badges, which is very, very good. And additionally, your three-pointer and mid-range attributes aren't bad either. Next, for playmaking, as usual, you're going to want to basically max out ball handle and speed with ball. I'd recommend dropping down your ball handle to a 77 and dropping down your speed with ball to a 73. Next, for your pass accuracy, you're going to want this at an 89 so you can have 25 playmaking badges. I know a lot of you guys are wondering why I don't have my ball handling at an 80. The reason why I don't have it at an 80 is because I actually looked at the animations that you can get at an 80 ball handling. And I realized that all the animations that I do want to get, I can actually get at a 75, so there's no reason to waste attributes. For you guys, you might need an 80 ball handle to unlock your favorite animation. So in that case, 100% drop down finishing or drop down shooting to get that 80 ball handling if necessary. For the defensive / rebounding attributes, you're going to start things off by upgrading your perimeter defense to an 86. Next, you're going to want your steal at an 82. And then scrolling down one to your block, you're going to want this basically maxed at an 89. And then for your rebounding attributes, you're going to want to upgrade your defensive rebound to a 68. You'll have 20 defensive badges. You don't really have great rebounding attributes, but for me, that's not really a huge deal. Also, you only have 20 defensive badges, but as I said, this is going to be an offensive focused build. And then moving on to your physicals, as usual, we're maxing out speed and acceleration to be as quick as possible. And then going down a little bit more, you're going to want your vert at an 80. That way you can unlock elite contact dunks. And then finally, throw all those attributes onto stamina and you'll have an 89 stamina. In total, this build has 97 badges, which is absolutely a ton. Overall, your offensive attributes are insane with insane playmaking, shooting, and finishing. And then not to mention, you can also hold your own on defense. If you do want free throw on this build, what you need to do is honestly just very simple. Drop your offensive rebound to a 33. This will also bring down your defensive rebound to a 63. And then you can have an 89 free throw, which is very, very good. Also, you still do have 19 defensive badges, which is more than enough still. On to takeovers. For the first takeover, I would honestly recommend going with limitless range. And then for the secondary one, I'm going to go with finishing moves since this is like an offensive juggernaut. And as you guys can see, I've built a two-way mid-range maestro. At the beginning of the year, I thought this was a really rare name, but I'm starting to realize that it's actually not. And with that being said, that is going to wrap it up for the video. If you found the video helpful or enjoyed it, scroll down, drop me a like, subscribe to the channel so you be notified next time I'm dropping some more gems on y'all. If you want a VC glitch or a badge glitch, they're on the screen right now. Go follow me on Twitter and I'm out. Peace.